So I think we can commence our session for today. I will request members to mute. So, okay, I think we are set. So paper 12, which is advanced financial reporting, a core paper in the CPA qualification, which is fed by financial reporting. And which tests application of the accounting knowledge is what is before us. Before I dive into my presentation, allow me, I know Richard is on call. It is good professional practice to organize such engagements in which you present to the candidates the expectations, both from the technical point of view and also the expectations from our side and what we also expect from the candidates. The CPA journey is a long journey which you do not walk alone. You walk it together with the tutors, together with the administrators, the examining body, and all other stakeholders. So we want to confirm and commit to you that we are with you in this long journey, which I'm sure we shall achieve at one time. So those are my names, and I will set off my engagement with you by looking at this syllabus. Advanced financial reporting feeds from financial reporting. Financial reporting feeds from financial accounting. So those three papers are interlinked. That's why you cannot do advanced reporting before passing financial reporting. Now, our paper has 9 learning outcomes. When you look at our syllabus, there are 9 learning outcomes. Learning outcomes are learning objectives that at the end of, upon studying this paper, what do we expect the candidates to know? Those are the learning outcomes. So we have 9 learning outcomes plus it is an extension of paper 7. Paper 7 being financial reporting, as we will see later in the details. So as we start this journey, I want to make it clear to you that the outcomes are 9, but you're also expected to know the content of the paper 7. What are the must-know areas in this paper? Group accounting. This is a core. It's a must-know area. Why? Because it forms section A. IFRS 8, segment reporting. IFRS 9, IFRS 2, IFRS FSMEs, 32, 33, ESG, corporate reporting, and the framework. All of this in bullet number 2, apart from group accounting, are totally new areas. Group accounting is the advanced version of level 2. The standards at this level do not test technical competence. So you will see that they completely differ from those of level 2. The standards are more for analytical procedures. So things like initial recognition, measurement, those you may not find them here. Or they will be limited at this level. The paper composition is 60% of the paper is computations and 40% is qualitative analysis. We call it qualitative analysis. I don't want to call it theory, because what we expect from you is you have the academic knowledge. Can you apply it to scenarios, to case studies? The questions are a combination of computations and theoretical analysis. They combine both. So as you can see, you cannot be a master in one, but rather you must have knowledge of both the computations and the qualitative analysis. What are the learning outcomes? These are the 9 learning outcomes I alluded to earlier. Applying the financial reporting framework. In the framework, we shall see both the conceptual framework and the regulatory framework for financial reporting, globally and in Uganda. You are expected to present a complete set of financial statements, including group financial statements, with complete disclosures. You are expected to analyze financial information. In May 2025, question 2 was about ratio analysis. And the candidates complained saying that this is a level 2 question. That's not valid, because financial analysis is part of the learning outcomes. You expected to analyze information in annual reports. Later we shall see what is the difference between financial statements and annual reports. Financial statements are simply an extract from an annual report. The annual report contains more content. Financial statements are a component in the annual report. Otherwise, the annual report will have the chairman's report, the CEO's report, you paint a picture for the future outlook and all those things in the annual report. You are expected to assess the usefulness of accounting information to various stakeholders. Our information, the financial information, is useful to several stakeholders. The primary stakeholders being the shareholders. But there are other stakeholders who use financial information. The customers, the lenders, the suppliers, name them, government authorities like URA. So all of those. Evaluating emerging financial reporting issues and developments. Question 2 of May 2026 tested candidates on IFRS 1. Okay? On IFRS 1. What is IFRS 1? That is what was tested in question. The first time adoption of reporting standards. You are aware that IS 1 is changing to IFRS 18 come 1st January 2027. That's a new development. We expect companies now to prepare their financials in line with IFRS 18 and not 1. So a company that is transiting from IS 1 to IFRS 18, what are they expected to do? There's a standard IFRS 1 that guides on first time adoption of IFRS. That is what was tested in question 2. So you see, as an accountant, you're expected to have knowledge of some of these recent developments. Apply requirements of IFRS in issue. There we are now testing. Give you short case studies. Testing you on application of several standards. Evaluate ethical issues in financial reporting. We cannot run away from the unethical behavior that exists at workplace in all engagements that we undertake as accountants. They are ethical issues. How do you deal with those ethical issues? It's a learning outcome. So when you look at all of these 9 learning outcomes, they paint a picture to you that the paper is not only calculations. You must think beyond calculations. And it is the highest level, it's the highest paper you'll find in reporting. Because after this, we don't have any other advanced paper in reporting. The component that is tested in integration of knowledge does not necessarily require you to do paper 12, because it is testing you about basic knowledge. And I'm sure even all your tutors at level 3 will tell you the same information. You go past level 3, you have very high chances of completing. Because level 3 is the highest level of testing technical, professional application. Integration of knowledge is more of report writing and basic skills. So, if these are our learning outcomes, then what is the structure of the paper? Our paper is structured into section A and B. Section A is compulsory and carries 50 marks. And for this section, we enter knowing. Because what is section A? Group accounting. So out of the 50 marks, 70% are computation. That means the 35 marks there out of the 50 are computations. The 30%, which is now the 15 marks, are theoretical. Averagely, that is how that section A is structured. And what constitutes section A is largely group accounting. So the examiner can test you on consolidated statement of comprehensive income, balance sheet, or cash flows. Any of the three can be tested. May, they did income statement. August, they can do cash flows, or they can do income statement again. There is no rule that says if you have tested income statement in May, you can't test it in August. It's not there. PAYEB, the Public Accountants Examinations Board, selects a paper that they think is most suitable to be done by candidates. Section B has 3 questions. This section is optional, but out of the 3, you attempt 2. When you look at those papers before the current syllabus, we used to have 4 questions and you used to attempt 2 out of the 4. Now it is 3 and you do 2. So if you read question 2, it's not clear. It means the remaining questions 3 and 4 are compulsory. Each question there is 25 marks. How is it structured? The section B questions are 50-50, 50 theory, 50 computations, if I can put it that way. So there is some balance in section. Therefore, when you go to section B, the questions you expect to find appear like this. Question 2 of section B is set from level 3 standards. Level 3 has very many standards, over 18. And from those 18 standards, the current practice is to set 1 question from those 18 standards, apart from the standards that apply to group accounting. Question 3 is set from level 2 standards. Leasing, impairment, IFRS 15 revenue, IS 40, IS 41. Those are level 2 standards. Now, level 2 standards give us 1 question as per our practice. This is still the practice until revoked. Question 4 is usually theory. But this theory is too wide. Okay? The theory is too wide. As you will see, our theory covers ESG, corporate reporting, regulatory frameworks, integrated reporting, ethics and governance, etc., etc. Those 5 topics of theory give us one question. But that theoretical question is not academic. Nowadays, it's no longer academic. When you look at those previous papers, past papers, very old ones, you'll see that the questions there were academic. Discuss, explain the advantages of sustainability reporting. Right now, the trend has changed. The expectation is you have the theoretical knowledge. Can you now apply it to the various case studies that we give you? So the questions will not be direct, but they will come from the theoretical areas. So that is how the paper is structured. We shall see later about examiners' comments, but that is the structure. Section A, compulsory 50 marks. And as a candidate, my target would be section A. At least I would make sure that in A, I go away with 35 marks. Because for it, you enter knowing that it is consolidation, largely. What you don't know before you enter an exam is whether they have tested the balance sheet, income statement, or cash flows. But at least you know it is consolidation. What are the must-know areas? When we say must-know areas, we mean these are areas where you must be a master. You must be a master. That even if we woke you up today, you go and do the paper because you have mastered these areas. It doesn't mean that you ignore other areas. We say, don't ignore other areas, but for these ones, you must be a master. We are giving them priority. That's group accounting. And the group accounting at this level is the complex group accounting. At level 2, we tested you on group accounting consolidation for simple group structure. Simple group. That meant I have 2 companies, parent and subsidiary. When you come to level 3, the group accounting is complex. The minimum you can have at 3 entities: parent, subsidiary, and maybe associate. Or you can have a parent and 2 subsidiaries. That is group accounting. Operating segments, IFRS 8. That you must also know. It's a common area. And the examiner is interested in you advising which of the branches or which of the components qualify as a reportable segment. We shall look at it as the standard. But your advice must be based on computations, as we shall see. IFRS 9, which is financial instruments, a core standard. Financial instruments, this sounds complicated because people use it to manufacturing accounts, manufacturing accounting, accounting in manufacturing entities. Now we come in with IFRS 9, financial instruments. If you are a bank, loans and advances are financial assets to you. To the lender, loans and advances are financial assets, but to the borrower, they are financial liabilities. If government of Uganda issues treasury bills, to them as government of Uganda, it is a financial liability. To you, the buyer of these bills, it's a financial asset. Now, those are things we're looking at. The treasury bills, the bonds, the loans and advances, the shares, etc. Core. IS 32 also talks about financial instruments. The hybrid, the compound instruments, which have debt and equity. IFRS 2, share-based payments. As I told you that this level is the most advanced. Share-based payments. Companies award share stock options to their employees. Either they have served for so long or they have performed beyond the expectations. So they give them awards, service awards. Some of the service awards can be in the form of stock options, where you allow your employees, you give them a right to acquire shares in your company after a certain period of time. Those are stock options. SMEs, core. The Ugandan economy is largely, by number, by volume, dominated by SMEs sector. The SME sector is growing. I'm aware Professor Sejaka is working on one of the projects to improve financial reporting in SMEs. He's working on it together with the Minister of Finance. How do we improve financial reporting? Because SMEs, these small entities don't have records. They don't keep proper books of accounts. What that means is the business owners cannot even evaluate whether they are improving, whether the company is growing or not. That's why you see SMEs can make a profit in 3 years. In the 4th year, the company is no more. Why? Record keeping. Whereas they try to run away from taxes because they don't want to do disclosures, you are able to see them. But then they create another problem that because you cannot assess performance, you cannot predict direction of where you are headed. The next thing, corrupts. So we shall look at SMEs. But I need to emphasize that the SMEs, when it comes to financial reporting, are not necessarily the small companies, but the companies without public accountability. We shall look at it later. There's even a full paper on SMEs by ICPA. Now, IS33 is also a must-know area, earnings per share. At level 2, we did the introduction to this standard. When you come to level 3, we now expand it, make it complex. ESG, this is now the song of the day. Everyone is singing ESG. When you go to banks have started to develop green products. They call them green products. ESG compliant loans. When you go to ATM machines, you are withdrawing money. They ask you, do you want a receipt? All that is ESG, because every receipt that you issue, that is a tree card. Let me make it like that. Because that paper is from wood, timber, or wood, which is cutting trees. Donors have put a lot of restrictions on aid, conditions on aid. We give you aid, you must demonstrate your ESG compliance. Okay? The IASSB has issued IFRS 1 and S2. Those are the disclosure standards on sustainability and climate-related financial risks. We shall look at them. So it's a key area for this paper. I'm sure some of you may even be the ESG compliance officers in your companies, because companies have now appointed ESG compliance officers. Corporate reporting, very key. This area extends to integrated thinking and reporting. Integrated thinking, that you report beyond financials. Report on how you create value to your stakeholders. That is integrated thinking and reporting. The frameworks, we talked about them, conceptual and regulatory framework. So those are core areas of the paper. The paper also assumes that you are still carrying knowledge of level 2 standards. And therefore, you don't complain to us that you see this standard is a level 2, I didn't prepare for it. No. I'm warning you, not warning, but advising you before we commence the semester. that you are assumed to possess level 2 knowledge. Therefore, the examiner can test you on any standard of level 2. The only section of level 2 that is not tested here is liquidation and receivership. That is not tested at this level. But the rest of all of the other standards, we test them here. Remember, they form question 3. And at MAT Abacus, I was very happy that last semester, May 2026, as MAT Abacus, we took a decision to grant you access to level 2 recordings. All recordings of level 2, our candidates had access to them. So that there is no room for you to say that you did not cover this. Yes, you covered the area, but you cannot take it for granted. We give you recordings again as a backup. The key standards from level 2 are listed there. Why am I saying these are key? At least when I did my analysis of the last 5 sittings, these are the common standards coming from level 2. What do examiners expect? What do we expect as examiners? 1, you're expected to compute and prepare consolidated financial statements, but for a complex group. At level 2, you did financial statements for a simple group. Here, financial statements for a complex group. We expect you to prepare and advise on accounting treatment of transactions. That is now section B. They'll give you case studies and then the questions. When we say the questions, that is the required part, the part of required. What is expected in section B is you calculate and advise. Now, for us, the way we advise, you can advise by passing entries. Debit this, credit this. You have advised. Or you can advise theoretically. Okay? By writing. Company XYZ should recognize this here. That's also advice. Report writing. In this paper, you're going to find very many questions requiring you to write a report. The format of the report that we take at this level is that of the memo, to, from, date, and subject. I have been emphasizing this even starting from level 2. Report writing. Supportive workings. You find candidates are answering without justifications. Candidates are answering generically. Your advice, your evaluations in this paper must be supported by workings. Okay? Not simple academic knowledge. You compute based on those computations, you advise. You may compute and come up with wrong answers mathematically. You have computed the impairment loss should be 200 million. For you have 210. Does that mean I stop there? No. However much the loss you have is different and yours is wrong, you go ahead and advise, but using your wrong figure. You will be judged based on that. Don't say because I have failed to calculate, I think the figure is wrong, I stop here. No. You proceed. Knowledge of recent developments. This one I've talked about it. The recent developments in our accounting space. IFRS S1 and S2. IFRS 18. That's also recent. Starting next year. At least these new developments should be at your fingertips. Attempt 3 questions only. There are cases where, but the 3 questions include question 1. So in other words, you do section A and 2 questions in B. Avoid scenarios of doing oral questions. Where do you get all this time from? You use your time to polish, maximize the 3 questions. Don't deceive yourself that you can beat the system. You can't. Some people think that, let me do 4 questions, they may miss, they may forget to delete one and they add all of them. No. The institute has a system. If you do 4, they take 3. The system does it automatically. Doesn't require human intervention. Okay? Then, now, if given this presentation, we know the must-know areas. As a candidate, I have mastered them. I have my assumed knowledge of level 2. And I have read examiners' expectations. Then why do candidates continue to fail? MAT Abacus has taught, it has issued mocks. We have done revision. They gave me the book. They gave me recordings. But then how come that candidates continue to fail? The reasons are quite obvious. Misinterpretation of questions. At this level, questions are complex, but very practical. But these questions require careful analysis. You don't just rush to a question and start answering. Why? Because there are no direct questions here. Even a question that may look as if it is direct, ideally, many times there's something the examiner has hidden. So pay attention to details. Other candidates attempt less than 3 questions. The moment you do less than the required, your chances of passing are very limited. Why? Because it means for you are working out of, say, 75. If you have done question 1 and maybe 1 question in B. So you are working out of 75. So the chances of getting 50 out of that 75 are very minimal. Inadequate syllabus coverage. In this paper and even in all other papers, I know my colleagues are still doing the engagements, the webinars. Please, colleagues, even when we start, ensure that, because we shall do our part as lecturers, but never stop reminding us. If there's any area that Z has not completed, please come to me and tell me that Z, this area is part of the syllabus. You have not taught it. I will. Ensure full coverage of the syllabus. This is the starting point for success. Because if you don't cover the full syllabus, you will have scanty knowledge. You may not be, things may turn out to be bad that the examiner can set from the area that you did not read or the area that you did not study. So try to avoid that. Avoid spot reading. Candidates fail because they spot read. People spot reading just. You know the paper has like 24 topics. For you decide to concentrate on 10. You are restricting your chances of passing. The tendency of tutors, and please be on the case of your tutors and everyone. Tutors doing questions for which there are solutions. That is another cause of failure. And the tutor trying to moderate the solution so that he brings out exactly how it appears on the website. At times, the assumptions behind some of the solutions there. For you as a candidate and as tutors, anyway, they are not tutors on call. As a candidate, ensure that you stick to the principles. Generic and academic answers, another reason for failure. Many of you, many candidates bring answers which are generic and academic, forgetting that this is a professional paper. Answers like government policy, poor government policy, the method is simple to use. Those are generic. They're not professional marks. Sorry, they're not professional answers. The answers must come from the case studies. And please quote standards where relevant. So, go away desist from those generic answers. Weak numerical skills. We have observed over time that some candidates fall sick the moment they see figures. As I indicated to you earlier, the paper is largely computations. So if you have weak numerical skills, please work on them. Don't expect the examiner to repeat questions the way they were set in the past. No, never. The topics will be repeated, but the scenarios will never be repeated because we are not recycling. Never fear to address your minds to the practical scenarios. It's a problem I find at level 3. Candidates have generic information. They don't read these case studies. Inadequate practice. Some of you prefer to practice with one question. The question that Z did in class is the question you want to master. You find yourself doing the same question like 10 times. You're wasting time because each question is unique. What you are required to pick from the question are the principles. The moment you pick the principles, you don't have to cram answers. Avoid substandard presentations because it is these presentations that make candidates get half marks. People giving advice without computations is not advisable. Okay? What is the way forward? Regular practice with past papers. On your portal, ICPA portal, you have a lot of past papers dating as far back as 2008. Get a question bank. Now, because my approach when I come to teach, we get some questions from the book that we shall give you. Other questions come from the past papers. Other questions come from our mock exams. So please ensure that whenever you're coming to my class, you come with a book where you write down some relevant information. You come with a question bank and you move with the study text because you can pick questions from any. So I encourage regular practice with those past papers. I encourage use of mocks. When you give mocks, only 20% of the candidates stand up. And that is really a disservice because there, it means somehow the relationship is broken. I want to assess, I have taught you from July to September. Then I issue a mock there. My objective is not to humiliate you. My objective is to see My Agava here, I thought he would be able to get a 90 in this paper. How come that he's getting an 80? Where are the 10 marks lost from? So the moment you do my mocks, I am able to assess and devise appropriate action. And I know that admin is on, Richard is on. This semester, we need to enforce this. Have mocks done on time, results analyzed, and corrective action devised. Issue a second set of mocks. If possible, issue a third set of mocks. If you do that, then it will give you a picture. At that point, I will know that this one are good to go. But if I give mocks, you don't come, but you come during revision. On the day of mocks, that's when people lose colleagues. On the day of mocks, someone is going to a wedding, someone is doing those things. Practice with ICPA books and the MAT books. MAT will give you a book on the package, on the 300 you have paid. You go away with a book. That book has practice questions. Use them. If you're using the ICPA book, it has practice questions as well. Use them. These questions help you to familiarize yourself with examination questions because they have been set in that direction. Avoid generic answers. We have talked about this. Those generic answers of government policy method is hard to use. Score you nothing. Instead, they just consume your time for nothing. Pay attention to question requirements and structure your solutions appropriately. The question is saying justify for you're giving two sides. It means you didn't understand the verb. Justify, that means support with arguments, with reasons. Another question is saying discuss. Then you find someone giving one side. It means they didn't understand the question. Always do 3 questions, don't exceed the 3, and not go below 3. Continue attending these webinars. Webinars like this are very important. The webinars will be organized by ICPAU and by MAT Abacus. Please attend. Because when you attend these webinars, you get to know what does the examiner expect from me. Because you're interacting with the subject matter experts. Colleagues, it doesn't cost you a lot to put in 1 hour and 30 minutes. Because that's the maximum time for a webinar by CPA. To listen to these people. MAT has done a good job in bringing all of these people. Our next session happened a few weeks ago, where ICPU came and spoke to you candidates. That's MAT. In addition to the general webinars, students' engagements that will come in September, October. Because all of these we are doing to try and find out the best way possible. How can we have our candidates pass? No one is interested in your failing, because if you fail, you scare away potential customers, potential clients. Even ICPA is interested in your passing. Pass and they go so that many more people come on board. Okay? Master the fundamentals. I have talked about the must-know areas. Can we master them? Once you master them, at least you have a starting point at that level. You have somewhere to start from. Ensure adequate syllabus coverage. Because at least 80% of the learning outcomes will be set in the exam. The exam is set to cover 80% of the learning outcomes. So ensure that you have covered the syllabus 100%. I will never tell you to just go and read this. All the topics shall go through them. Test yourself in an examination environment. Time yourself to build efficiency. The past papers are now out there. Can you see it? Can you reserve 3 hours a day and it work out? Try a question, a paper, a full paper, while timing yourself to see how long it can take you to do a paper. It helps you to implement corrective actions early enough. If you sit for a paper, say of May 2026, and you realize that you are taking longer than 3 hours, that will help you to determine what measure you need to improve. Read examiners' comments. Every sitting their reports, examiners issue reports of what they think makes candidates fail. Can you make good use of these reports? The examiners' comments. Many of you, when you go to the portal, you are interested in the solution only. The solution, whereas it is of some relevance, it is not key. Because as I said, these questions are never repeated. But what is key is the report by the examiners. What are the examiners saying? Once you get that right, the paper can't challenge you. Choose tuition providers wisely. Choose tuition providers wisely. Avoid the temptation of looking for cheap savings. Really, as a profession, what would make you move away from MAT Abacus? The study environment is conducive for professionals. The reading rooms, the technology, the Wi-Fi, the parking, the washrooms, the canteen. I don't find anything that can motivate me as a candidate to really move away from MAT. But the desire to make a cheap savings, because MAT is charging 300, then I have had someone is charging 220, will make you regret. I know professionally we are not allowed to do marketing, but I'm passing on information. When you go to the ICPA portal, there is a list of approved tutors, accredited. The word is accredited. Ensure that the tutor, the tuition, the college you are doing this paper with or other papers is accredited. Because at least for those, ICPA has done evaluation and deemed them fit. What is our approach to questions? Before I go to the approach, Joanne is saying, examiners' comments uploaded on the portal? Yes. Where we upload the solution and the questions, there is another folder for reports. So they are uploaded on the portal. Look at them. Now, having looked at the way forward, and assuming we have walked the journey together, July to October, sorry, to December, to November. Now I'm going to sit for my exams. What is the approach? First, read the question requirements. You know, in exams, you don't read the case study first. You start with the questions. If you realize that you can't attempt the questions, you start with the required. Those are the questions I'm talking about, part A, part B, part C. If you realize that those parts, the required is hard, don't waste time on the case study. Move away. But if you start with the case study, then you read the questions later, then you find that the questions are hard, you have wasted your time. Start with the required, then go and read the case study. By that, at least, even when you are reading, you know what you're looking for. Because not all of the information in the case study is relevant. Some of it is not. It is there to simply build up the case, make it look bigger. Once you have read the question requirements, then read the transaction details with emphasis on identifying relevant information. Because at this level, you now know what you're looking for. You have read the required. The examiner wants accounting treatment of several transactions. Those are the transactions you're looking for. Start answering from theoretical parts. I encourage you, colleagues. Theory will save you. Computations can bury you. Theory in this paper and in the majority of the papers at level 3. Because at times this theory is not related to the case. The theory can be answered from the academic point of view. Attack from the questions that you're familiar with. You attack from the weakest link. Okay? If you know that they are number 2, their fullbacks are weak, you attack using fullbacks. Don't attack using central defense, middle field. Start with the simple questions. You don't go to an exam to show off. No one is interested in you showing off. Our interest as MAT is you getting a 50 and a go. Avoid writing too much and too small. Save time and maximize other questions. If you write too long, what are you trying to do? An answer of 2.5 lines is appropriate, is advisable. Why do you write your answer in 6 lines? It's as if you are pleading. And again, don't write too small. The method is simple. What is simple? Start by quoting relevant standards. If you're answering section B, quoting a standard carries marks. So you quote the standard, you go into measurement, you go into recognition criteria. Okay? State your answer first. I normally encourage you to do that. The answer must appear at the beginning of the paragraph. Avoid things like saying, another advantage of using this to companies like XYZ Limited is no examiner will read all of that. Don't hide your answer. Oral recommendations must be supported by workings. Avoid generic recommendations. Be consistent with your answers. Because even if there are numerical errors, marks will be awarded. Someone can have 6.5, another can have it as 6.7, another can have it as 7. Numerically, those answers are different, but principally, if we explain using the right principle, then you get your marks. Okay? So, having looked at all of that, how has the performance of this paper been? We are seeing the trend has improved in May. But before that, in December 2025, we saw a decline in performance. In May last year, we had achieved 21.5%. These are national statistics. Then in December, performance moved down to 20. Nationally, what are the examiners saying? The examiners said in December that Section B was an area of great concern. Majority of the candidates did not obtain 50% of the marks. That's why they end up failing. The examiner said that you could find candidates getting like 25 out of 50 in section A. In section B, 5 or 10. When they add 35 marks, fail. Questions at level 2 were not well attempted. That's according to examiners. That the moment you leave level 2, you forget everything about level 2. Yet these questions which are set from level 2 standards are always very basic, simple questions. But it seems some people, once they complete a level, they forget everything about that level. I encourage you not to be like that. And of course, the examiner said theoretical answers were also lacking. They were generic. We need to desist from that. As MAT, we have our standard. When you extend our review to May 2026, how was performance? In December, there was a decline, but in May, there was improvement. When you look at the national statistics countrywide, we had a pass rate of 26.8. That was an increase from 20.4 of December. But these days, we now analyze our results as MAT Abacus. The national pass rate was 26. The pass rate at MAT was 31 point. Again, that pass rate of 31 was an improvement from the pass rate of 24 that we had registered in December. You can see across 2 sittings, our pass rates have been above the national figures. December, national 20, MAT 24. May, national 26, MAT 31. But we are still saying that these are very low pass rates. Because it means for every 100 candidates who sit, only 31 pass, 69 fail. Whereas we are above the national pass rates, there's still work to be done. Now, that work to be done, we cannot do it alone. We need combined effort. We do our part, you do your part. We come, teach. For me, I even ask, have you understood? Members always tell you, sir, yes, we have understood. You issue mocks, they don't come. Waiting to die once. You go to the finals, you get 15. Then you say, CPA has cheated me. No. Do a self-evaluation. Don't say they have cheated me. Herbert, I was better than Herbert. But maybe Herbert went back, sat at his home, did a self-evaluation, and worked on his gaps. Avoid comparing yourself, your pass rate. Avoid comparing your passing or failing to another candidate. Because you are not that candidate. You don't know what that candidate does if he goes back home. Probably you see this candidate on weekend at MAT, but during weekdays, do you meet them? That's so and so passed, but he was the weakest in our group. Who says? He was weak and he worked on his weaknesses. Section B remains an area of great concern. Again, examiners are saying this. This is the information I got from them verbally. Section B remains a great area of concern. Majority of the candidates don't obtain 50%. Why? The cases are candidates attempt this section partially, spend a lot of time in section A. By the time they go to B, 30 minutes are left. In 30 minutes, the maximum you can get is 15. You had your 25 in A. In B, you have only secured 15. When they aggregate, you are at 40, fail. Questions about level 2 standards are not well attempted. Again, it's coming back. In May, candidates skipped that question 3. But they had forgotten agriculture, impairment. Yet the questions were very basic. So I appeal to you candidates. I appeal to you not to forget level 2 standards. Theoretical questions are proving to be hard to candidates nowadays. Why? Because the questions are testing application. Candidates are now lost. You go to an exam expecting to reproduce knowledge. They give you a scenario. And they just expect you to use your knowledge, academic knowledge, apply it to the case study and advise. People are not doing that. It's an area where I think also as tutors, we need to improve. Try to work out these questions alongside you instead of giving you just the academic component. Candidates don't read examiners' reports. I'm very happy that my sister asked Joan, where can you find these reports? On the portal. You cannot say that you are a candidate. You are studying paper 12, but you don't read examiners' reports. Because the examiners' reports give you a picture of what is happening in the marking rooms, what the markers see. Other candidates don't attend the engagements, like this engagement here. The class is over 100, but we are 29. December results come out with 29%, and they say, they cheated us. But how can you improve performance when you don't engage in such seminars? Including the seminars organized by ICPA. When they arrange those seminars, please attend. For me, I normally encourage and I pass on this information to the classes that please go for these seminars because I know what happens in there. So, because of this, candidates continue to make the same mistakes, sitting after sitting, but expecting better results, which is not possible. Work on these weaknesses, comply with our expectations, the rest will be history. As I wind up, I appeal to you candidates. What I ask from you is only very simple. Your commitment to this cause. How will commitment be demonstrated? Don't dodge my classes unless it is inevitable. Attempt my mocks in all ways. Because the mock we issue it, we give out physical papers, but also upload it on the portal. So I appeal to you candidates to remain committed. Where you have reached at level 3, you are now seeing the end of the tunnel. Don't give up at this level. I know it's a challenging level, but you will overcome those challenges if we walk this journey together. I thank you. I now invite reactions from the public, if there are any. Okay, reactions?
When is our first class?
Our first class will be on 4th, on 5th. It will be a Sunday. And the nature of our classes is, our classes are both physical and virtual. Virtual, I mean online. Both things happen at the same time. MAT Abacus has that technology to deliver a physical and an online class at the same time. This engagement has been online because I am away, but otherwise, I prefer physical engagements because physically I can assess that this Agaba here has understood, or this Nasaka is deceiving. Online I can't assess because I also attend, I'm also doing some programs online, but at times you log in and go to something else. You just log in to get hours, but when actually you are doing something different. The tutor keeps on calling you, Z, any submission, you are nowhere. So if possible, attend physical. That is my advice. Then Agnes is saying, thank you for your time, but examiner overcomplicate questions nowadays. Yes, because what to examine has been examined over time. There is no new content. The moment the content becomes exhausted, you now think about how to adjust the existing content to make it appear different from what has been said before. But again, my advice to you, Agnes, that with practice, all of these questions, which are calling complex, actually become a walkover. Practice. I don't know whether Agaba has left. Agaba, are you still on call?
Yes, I said I'm on call.
So this Agaba here was prize winner in the December 2025 financial reporting. But he will tell you that he went to an exam and there was nothing new. Yet all questions were new. But to him, there was nothing new. Because he could do every question. Why? Commitment, practice. This Agawa here, you'll meet him. He's always the first at MAT and the last to leave. But these are prize winners. Prize won paper 7, prize won MDC. Someone will say, but now these people are naturally talented, super talented. What are they doing in reading? He puts talent aside and concentrates on reading. Some of these examples are good for us. We can borrow a leaf. When you come to MAT Abacus, you find all of those prize winners there. They are always the first to come and last to leave. You find the Agaba, you find the Joshua Manike, you find the Varia, you find the Deborah Mamanzi, you find all of them, the Susans, you find them there. So, my sister Agnes, yes, questions are becoming complicated, but with the practice and with the right discussion group, the question, you will enjoy life in this paper. Because there is no question that will be new unless they are examining about IFRS 18. But the rest of the questions, it is recycling, changing names of companies, changing exchange rates, changing wording, then bring. But it is all consolidated cash flows, consolidated balance sheet, consolidated income statement. Okay? Joan is saying, what is your advice regarding attempting theoretical numbers? Of recent, examiners are telling me that candidates are answering theoretical questions academically. And because you're answering academically, you end up losing marks. Where you would have scored 10, you score like 5. The moment you keep on losing marks like that, by the time they add, you are below 50. Theory questions are good because they save time. My advice to you is that when you're answering them, answer them professionally. Don't attempt to reproduce knowledge. That's my advice there. But I encourage you to go for them. Why? They save time, and it is very hard to get 0 on theory. But they also carry that risk that you may not maximize the marks there. If the question is 10 marks, getting 10 or 9 out of 10 is hard. Why? The marker may say, I'm not convinced with your explanation. Then they can give you a 7. But with the computations, there is no convincing. A 2 is a 2. Whether you have written it vaguely or what, a 2 is a 2. Okay? Crispus is saying, thank you for the advice and the guidance, sir. Thank you very much. My colleague from, that should be Kasese. And if I'm saying I request for a snapshot of all level 3 standards. Okay. Level 3, level 2. Hanifa, did you mean level 2, level 3?
Level 3.
Level 3. Okay. Now, level 3 standards are quite many, but we shall cover all of them. But they are somehow different from level 2 in terms of what they are trying to address. Level 2 addresses technical competence. Level 3 addresses application. The standards at level 3 are after financial statements standards. Let me put it like that. After financial statements standards. For example, IS 33, earnings per share. You must have profit for the year. You must have ordinary shares outstanding. That means you have your financials, get that information, do earnings per share. IFRS 8, operating segments. You must have the financials, both the balance sheet and income statement. Use that information, determine what qualifies as a reportable segment. Okay? So, related party, IS 24. Related party. You have the balance sheet, you have the income statement. We're asking you, are there transactions between related parties, entities or individuals who are related with this company? If they are there, can you disclose them? So they are at that level, high level. They are not like level 2. Level 2 is computation. Acquired the motor vehicle paying 100 million cash. Motor vehicle is depreciated at 10% per annum, straight line. That one you do from initial recognition. Level 3 is somehow different. Dorothy is saying, we have a mock exam for people preparing for August sitting. Yes, Dorothy, this we shall answer from the August side, but that is the plan. At least to have a mock. Not actually just a plan, but it will be done. Because I need to have assessment. It's not only you who is on pressure, even us, we are on pressure. Those pass rates are still low. And that's why I'm appealing to you that let us fight this journey. Let us fight this cause together. So, but we shall have it. Which paper best blends with AFR? In case I want to do 3 papers. One of them should be a theoretical paper. Policy most likely. Then you can blend the AFR with the PFM if you're in government. PFM. Why? Because the standards don't differ materially. The difference is in the arrangement and the use of some words. But content-wise, impairment is impairment. Leasing is leasing. Agriculture is agriculture. So they differ by arrangement of standards and by the names of the standards, but the principle, the way things are computed, is the same. So if you're in government, I would encourage you to blend it with public finance management. However, if you're in private sector, I would encourage you to blend it with the advanced financial management. Why? They are not done on the same day. 2, they would not be heavy. Like someone who is taking PFM and AFR. Those are heavy. But AFM and AFR would not be a lot. It's not an overload. I wouldn't encourage AFR and audit at the same time, because for you to audit, you must know reporting. So what are you auditing when you're still doing standards? I wouldn't encourage that. So my advice to you would be AFR, AFM, and policy if you're in private sector. AFR, PFM, and policy if you're in government. AFR, AFM, and tax, all of those are computations. You are putting yourself, giving yourself a very big load. All of those are computations, and at least you must look at each every day. You may not have that time. Many of you are working class. You go to work at 8, you leave at 5. By the time you go through jam of Kampala, it is 9 p.m. Some of you are mothers and fathers. You have children. You have other responsibilities. Most likely you will not read. You wake up at 4. You read for 2 hours. Then you leave home at 6 to beat jam. It becomes hard. So you find that in a week, you may close the week without reading tax. And the moment you dodge, you spend more than 2 days without reading a computational paper, it becomes a very big risk. Yeah. I hope I have provided appropriate guidance, colleagues. Okay? Any other reaction? And I'm still available for any other comments and reactions. Consult. Me, I'm always there at MAT. I come in the morning on Saturday, leave late in the evening. I am always there. All right. So, all right, colleagues, thank you very much for attending. We meet next Saturday, Sunday, and we start our journey for December. For now, we can stop here, and I wish you a good weekend.